War never changes. Not bad. Not bad. Sugar bombs. 100% daily value of sugar. Codsworth.
Come on, just answer the door and they'll go away.
Tech stock continues to rise as tensions with China reach an all-time.
Good morning. Vault-Tech calling.
Good morning.
Isn't it? Just look at that sky out there.
The pod will decontaminate and depressurize.
Codsworth. You seem like an okay guy.
Help us, please! We're gonna fucking pay for that!
Man, I don't know who you are, but your time is impeccable. There's a crashed vertebrae up on the roof.
I like it.
What are you, crazy?
Yes. So, he's your dog? Great. You're completely nuts. That's incredible.
Pause.
Excuse me.
That was a pretty amazing display.
What happens now?
Sanctuary. Sanctuary it is.
I hope the color of my energy is blue.
You willing to do some work?
Do I look like a carpenter to you?
I don't know. I like it.
I have done a terrible thing. I have released Binglegorp upon the world, and that is now everybody else's problem. Does it have something to do with this stunning comb-over? Maybe his luscious lips? Or that majestic beer belly? No, it's more the fiery, burning rage within his very soul to turn Sanctuary into a fucking cornfield, and to use the prophets to unleash destruction upon everyone that is not himself. Except for the dog and maybe Preston.
There was a lot.
But I digress. Welcome to my video, Can You Beat Fallout 4 as an Evil Farmer? Wait, what's the trope? This makes no sense. First off, I'm glad you're starting to understand this doesn't make any sense. And second of all, the trope is corn. Let me explain. Initially, I was going to do a heavy weapons build with Binglegorp here, my angry farmer, and I was going to grow my own ammunition. For the junk jet, of course. The junk jet shooting random junk objects at people at Mach 5, and I thought it'd be funny to deliver corn to all the hungry wastelanders out there. Unfortunately, I forgot that the junk jet doesn't shoot food, aka corn. It unfortunately only shoots junk. And unfortunately, I had already built half of Sanctuary into a cornfield. I couldn't just drop the video there. So I went from heavy weapons to missiles. Yes. So the trope of growable ammunition is technically still true because the profits that I get from selling the corn, I just buy more missiles with it. So I am technically growing my own ammunition. Binglegorp's mission of taking over the Commonwealth and turning it into a corn corporation is still a go, and the corn proceeds will be used to fund his carnage. This is going to be absolutely beautiful. Please enjoy yourself. Well, alright then, we did the whole intro at Concord and whatnot, saved Preston's sorry ass, fixed up Sanctuary a bit, and now we are ready to start our quest. What kind of quest? A quest for corn. Sanctuary ain't gonna turn itself into a cornfield. I'm deciding to roll with the frying pan for a while because I like how it sounds when you hit people. Ah yes, reminds me of TF2. Binglegorp's quest starts on the road outside of Concord. I encounter this trader, Trash Can Carla, in search of corn. Unfortunately, she didn't have any. Very disappointing, but I press on, and I make it to this crunky little diner that has a crackhead problem, give them the TF2 treatment, and then check with the trader to see if they have any corn, and they ended up having one corn. Oh, the absolute splendor. We have begun our first corn to be planted into Sanctuary, but the planting must wait. We must accumulate more corn. As I'm trying to record, somebody died, and now there's an ambulance going down the highway. Go get 'em, boys. On the road to Diamond City, I do various scavenging through lots of random BS, walk into an episode of The Walking Dead, encounter a dude with a nuke launcher, and find a skeleton stuffed into a washing machine. The usual stuff you might encounter in this game. Binglegorp at this point is slowly developing the ancient art of Panjitsu. After probably the most intense battle of my life, I decided to go visit the Corvega plant raiders and test out my newfound skills a little bit. I pushed my way into the main entrance, and after about crashing 7 times, I then concluded that it must be a mod conflict that is causing me to crash so much. After watching Thick Meat ascend to the astral plane one last time, I have concluded that it was, in fact, Thick Meat himself that is taking up way too many particles and crashing my poor 2GB VRAM toaster graphics card. And hence, we must end the era of Thick Meat, and now he is just regular Meat Dog. Since it was a minor convenience, I decided to intervene with Buzz Lightyear.
Evading my questions is a surefire way of getting yourself ejected from the compound.
The junk in the XP boost is mainly what I was after. After a brief discussion with Buzz Lightyear, I decided to go inside the police station, get yelled at by a bunch of rednecks.
Think you're some kind of hotshot?
The fuck? Why are you so angry with me?
I'm not angry.
So you're winning those or not? You're hired, lad, and that's all there is to it.
Why are you standing around here like there's nothing to do?
Me and Buzz Lightyear head over to ArcJet Systems, blow up a bunch of synths, he gets blasted by a rocket. You know, the usual stuff. I grab the junk jet, and then we head out. He gives me a special little laser as a gift. You know how this quest goes. After that, I quickly drop some junk off at Sanctuary. Not playing the corn quite yet. I need some more. And then heading back to the police station and going straight to Diamond City. Encounter the super mutants, and then make my way towards the city gate, which is closed because this dumbass decided to post some fake news. I listened to their conversation over the intercom, very creepily staring at the back of her head. Binglegorp uses his telekinesis to give the reporter an aneurysm, which causes them to open the gate.
No, not really.
I tell the Wasteland liberal that her paper is dumb and I don't like the news, and then I head on inside. The main goal, to find more corn. I managed to find 1 corn from the schizophrenic trader, and then another from the Russian boys, who still have an accent a few hundred years after the bombs fell. I also explored the completely unused half of the city. Well done, Bethesda, for being lazy. After that, I make my way to Good Neighbor to find more corn after dying about 14 times. But I made it nonetheless. I call Finn bald and ugly, then he gets stabbed to death. The vendor didn't have any corn, so I simply just went upstairs and robbed her house, and got corn that way. Mission still successful. I also go down into the speakeasy to get some more corn from the Angeloid bot, and then after that I head back to Sanctuary to begin construction of my grand corn farm. Very exciting. It is time to start construction of the Grand Sanctuary Cornfield. I go ahead and clean up a bunch of the backyards in the middle of the settlement and build a nice wall to protect my corn. I place my 5 glorious corn down, thus founding the start of a new era, a better era, the era of Binglegorp of corn, and many corn-related products. I construct a watchtower to oversee our farmers. Yes, that's what we'll call them. Yes, it might be a glorious start, but it is only a start. This cornfield in its current state is pathetic, nowhere near the scale at which Binglegorp requires. Much like the Crusades, we address the holy texts and begin a second corn crusade. But before that, we do some Minutemen quests and go back to Corvega, without crashing this time because we removed Thick Meat. But anyway, thus begins the second corn crusade. I set off on my grand quest looking specifically for farms. The best way to do that by getting Minuteman quests, because most of the settlements you get grow stuff. Unfortunately, none of the traders I passed by or the settlements had any corn.
Don't worry.
I went back to Good Neighbor and picked up 1 single corn. Not much, but still adding to my empire. After scouring and becoming even stronger as the moments pass, I encounter this abandoned farm full of super mutants. An intense battle occurs, and at the very end, an assault trend randomly comes in for some reason and then ascends to the heavens. But this was no ordinary farm. This was the single most important and valuable asset I have found so far. This farm was full of corn. a whole tens of corn. I think I had somewhere around 30. We have essentially sextupled our corn supply. A very, very good day indeed. I'll return to Sanctuary and gaze upon my barren fields. 5 corn stalks perched stoically upon the hill, soon to be joined by many more. I place all of the corn down and immediately assign any available settlers to farm it. Oh yes, our field's expanding and our production increasing. With the cornfield beginning to become established, I decided it's time I built a scrapping factory to process all my junk more efficiently. I acquire lots of garbage, and then I talk with creepy Mama Murphy that requests a chair.
Fat man and the angry woman. Tell them to remember the quarry and Lily June on the rocks. I need change.
Sure.
Mama Murphy's power was increasing to a concerning amount. Doom was closely approaching, and swift action must be taken. Using the sheer power of all my garbage, I constructed a mighty concrete and steel prison to encase her, for these mighty walls have a chance of buying us more time. The whole settlement sighed in relief as the great terrible evil was encased in this concrete prison. Peace had been bestowed upon us, and the gods have allowed us to live another day. After encasing the great evil, it was time for a bountiful harvest. Our current yield for the field is about 134 corn every couple days, and the value of corn is 6 caps each, meaning our yield is about 800-ish. I think 800 caps per yield, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it back into the field so we exponentially keep growing. Yes, I absolutely crammed 134 more corn stalks into the field. Took some expanding and some cleaning up, but well worth it. Still much more planned. Now that the field is taken care of for now, I am several hours into the game and have not touched the main storyline basically at all. So back to Diamond City, I encountered a zombified fluorinated American walking the streets, craving corn syrup. Me being the prime corn farmer, I generously grant him his beloved corn syrup, so that he may wander the streets forevermore in a fluorinated daze, just like the entire population of Colorado. Nick's assistant. Oh my god, Nick's missing. I'll go find him. Okay, fine. Alright, bye.
I didn't come here to get brushed off.
Well, you can take a seat and wait for the next Armageddon.
And now we're off to find a robotic detective. But before I actually start the quest, I decide to build Bingle Gorp an evil office so that he may oversee his evil enterprises, complete with evil chair. Once this was complete, we celebrated by merging our corporeal vessels into one. I make my way towards the subway vault and decide to randomly attack Swan for some reason, and actually succeeded, which is surprising. And then we make our way down into the subway, fighting our way through mafia larpers. Finally get into the vault, and then I realize the pan is not that good, and nor is the lighting in this game. My apologies, that's Bethesda's fault. We make our way into the room, and we find Nicky Boy.
Let's blow this joint.
I decide to go on a missile rampage after freeing him and getting some information out of him, and then we proceed back towards the entrance. After trying to select a speech dialogue option, the game somehow thinks I was shooting my rocket, and I launch a rocket at the ceiling and blow myself up.
Great set of legs.
But after a quick respawn, I go back to the same area, and then I remember that Mama Murphy gave me Eldritch knowledge, which I then use.
Remember the quarry. Lily June on the rocks? Ring any bells?
Mama Murphy's sight pays off again.
How the hell did you know about that?
I've never heard that dialogue before, so that's pretty cool. But now we got the Robo Detective, and we get out of the vault. We get back to the surface, and then I dismiss him.
I'll meet you there.
See you in Diamond City.
For I have important matters to attend. After rescuing RoboCop, we return to Denver, where he proceeds to snort cocaine off of his desk and ask me the most ridiculous questions.
You sure?
Don't jump the gun on me.
I go up to Mayor Douchebag, commandeer a key to this dude's house.
I need to search his house.
I will do everything in my power to help you overcome my citizens' privacy.
And then I actively break into it and search his shit. Give some of his ciggies to my dog, and we start tracking the bitch. Our dog starts tracking this dude, and we pick up a lot of clues along the way, and I make sure to blow up every single car with Preston next to it on the way there. I had to do this segment with the Assaultron like 3 times because whenever I click on this car, I instantly crash, even though there's no interaction box. Being next to it's fine, being on top of it's fine, hitting it's fine, but simply pressing E on it crashes the game. After about an hour, I finally remembered where Fort Häagen-Dazs was, and then I proceeded to get molested by turrets, thus beginning my second rocket rampage. I reached the end of the dungeon. It is then revealed that the person that kidnapped my son is not in fact a mercenary, but actually a box of cereal.
You came a long way. Let's hear it.
This whole time I should have known by the name Kellogg. I actually struggled with this boss fight not because he was tough, but because I kept blowing myself up with rockets.
You know.
I pretty much lost track of how many times I blew myself up, and I finally developed some basic spatial awareness. Grab all the stuff off his body to progress the quest, and I head back outside, and there's a strange balloon. Before progressing the quest even more, I decided to go check on the corn farm. Here's a little aerial view. It's getting quite big, and the yield is so high that I can basically buy unlimited missiles. I clean up the place a bit, build some industrial machines, and most importantly, expand the corn outward towards the road. Now that our corn is tended to, I picked up this random quest at the ration stockhold, and as usual, I proceed to blow myself up several times. But it did yield a couple more corn and this machine gun. Picking up this machine gun gave me a great idea. Preston has become soft. He has become feeble. He simply isn't cutting it anymore. It's time for a new follower.
You want to swap supplies?
I decided not to take any from any of the main factions because I'm going to destroy all of them, because there can only be one true power, and that is Big Corn. I decided on MacLeod because his accuracy is pretty good, and he's relatively cheap to buy, and I know where he is. I go ahead and equip him with some scary armor and the machine gun, and now it's time for the test run. We are essentially in downtown Detroit, and if you want to get shot at, all you gotta do is walk outside. Giving MacLeod the machine gun was glorious. This will do just fine. Now that's taken care of. I drop some information back off to Nick to progress the main story, and I decide to do the entire Cabot side quest for some reason, because I get sidetracked extremely easy.
Pleased to meet you, Jack.
And I am very pleased to meet you. Ed, you're sending him to look for the missing shipment.
Yeah.
Well then, I'd better leave you to it.
It's a really good side quest, to be fair, though.
Right this way, neighbor. I'm always excited to welcome a new member into our fold.
Have it your way. Don't tell me. Jack sent you.
You're Jack's sister? I was expecting someone a bit younger.
You really know how to flatter a lady, don't you? Just to be clear, I'm Jack's younger sister, the baby of the family. Once I get home and get some of Jack's serum, I'll be back to my usual stunning self.
Jack has a serum that reverses aging?
It's more like it halts aging. I started taking it when I was 32, so normally that's what I look like. You'll see once I get my treatment. I was well known as one of the belles of Boston society, back when there was any.
Have this family that's lived for hundreds of years because their grandfather somehow got into Agartha, managed to come back with Atlantean superpowers prolonging their lives since they harvest his blood. I think Jacob Cabot's a douchebag, so I betray him and actually side with the grandfather.
Why did you free him?
You were just keeping him prisoner to keep yourselves alive.
That's a lie. I worked for centuries to find a way to cure him. But he doesn't want to be cured. He likes what he's become.
Hold on there, Jack. He has a point. Your story about curing Lorenzo has never quite added up.
What are you doing, Edward?
I'd just like to hear what he has to say. He's talked to Lorenzo. I never have. You're saying you think Jack's been lying about Lorenzo all this time?
Yes, Lorenzo doesn't seem crazy to me, although he's understandably pretty pissed off.
Well, goddamn. I guess you have some explaining to do, Jack.
You can't seriously doubt me, Edward. After all I've done for you?
Oh my...
Ah, you're all here. Good.
How did you get in here?
Why so surprised? This is my house, after all. I like what you've done with the place.
Lorenzo, thank God you finally escaped. Jack just wouldn't listen. You know I would never.
You have all betrayed me. Kept me a prisoner and fed off me like vampires to prolong your pathetic, worthless lives. That is now over. Your time is up.
Please, Lorenzo.
Well, that's done. Thank you for your assistance.
They had it coming.
I promised to share my blood with you, and I always keep my promises. Here is your reward. I will provide you with a lifetime supply as needed.
But I got the XP, and now I have unlimited blood, which means I can reign forever. My life is eternal now. After acquiring immortality, Bingo Gorp has a new outlook on life, and this encourages him to build up his sanctuary corn project even more, turning it into a thriving Midwestern town. Corntown, USA, everybody. We have a gas station, flowing golden fields of corn, various farm equipment, and even a corn saloon, because what else is there to do in the Midwest besides drink or gamble? But the corn saloon has both. Feeling a deep satisfaction with his Midwest corn town, Bingo Gorp realizes he's been sidetracked for about a week. Not that he cares about his missing son or anything, but maybe the questline will yield more ways to produce corn. Continuing where we left off with the main storyline, we decide to go back to Detroit. We enter the crack den, or memory den as they like to call it locally, and we bring our findings regarding our son and Nick Valentine to a doctor that looks like she got her degree from Squidward Community College. Turns out I've been holding these meaty bits in my pockets for about a week or so. After presenting them to the doctor, turns out they still have valuable encoded memories on them. After finding this out, me and Nick thought it'd be a good idea to enter VR chat.
Nick and I are gonna share a mind? Yeah, I'm not gonna see him in any compromising positions, am I?
Yeah, if a smart mouth was all it took to solve problems, we would have found your son by now.
And poke around a little bit, if you know what I mean. We find that the Institute hired a cereal box to do all their dirty work for them. Within his memories, we discover that Shrek has escaped the Institute and has valuable knowledge that we require. On our way out, Nick Valentine has a schizophrenic breakdown like V from Cyberpunk 2077.
Nick.
Hope you got what you were looking for inside my head. That was right. I should have killed you when you were on ice.
You want to try for round 2? Let's go!
What are you talking about?
But of course, before we delve into the glowing sea, we go back to Corntown, USA to prepare. Putting on a little bit of sunscreen, I basically run straight towards this dude's cave after encountering a bunch of crackheads that live in a nuclear crater. How they haven't melted, I don't know. Maybe the corn syrup they've been drinking has altered their DNA to a point to where the radiation doesn't affect them, or warped the DNA further. I mean, these are Americans we're talking about, come on. But we find our way to Shrek's cave. We have a lovely cup of tea, and he gives us the information we need. And like all things, we once again need to rip something out of somebody's skull. If I've had a nickel for every time I was required to do that in this game, I would have 10 cents. Not a whole lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. We need to kill a courser, so we go to intercept them at, I think it's called Green Tech Genetics. If it's not actually called that, I don't care. But we head over to where we're supposed to be, wherever the hell the courser is, and we just explode our way all the way through the dungeon until we find him.
I'm here to pick up an order. 2 large pepperoni and a calzone. Name is Fuck you.
And then he gets exploded as well. Not the cleanest run, but still pretty clean. And I remembered, of course, not to leave any witnesses. Now that we have the courser chip, the next step is to get it analyzed. Now, there's really only one group that can do that in the entire game, and it so happens to be a group that I really hate because I think their quest line is the weakest out of all the factions you can side with, and they're a bunch of stupid liberals. I'm serious, you defeat the Brotherhood of Steel and the Institute pretty much by yourself, and then at the end, they're still mad at you because some random guy killed himself. That was completely out of your control, so regardless of what you do for these people, they don't like you. Anyway, we go to Old North Church to pay the railroad a nice little friendly visit. At least Binglegorp's definition of friendly. You basically just go into the basement, there's a little spinning wheel, you just put railroad in, it's not too hard. But there they are, the magnificent railroad. Okay, anyway, after they were taken care of, we went ahead and went into the basement where they live and decoded the chip ourselves and got the data. Now that we had secret inside business info of the Institute, we walk all the way back to Shrek's cave, and he gives us a nice little sticky note with some drawings on it. I'm not doing a bunch of work for the Brotherhood of Steel, so I basically go to my redneck engineer, Sturgis, and hand him Shrek's sticky note, channeling pure Texas energy straight into his brain. He is able to conjure up a teleporter. We built the teleporter right in the middle of Corntown, USA. So I prepared and we hooked up the teleporter to our power grid and teleported. This overloaded the power grid in Corntown, USA, and also blew up all the power lines as well. With the grace of the corn gods on our side, we've safely made it inside of the Institute. We make our way down the Star Wars looking tunnels and rooms, and we finally get to meet our son, who is actually not our son.
Sean, open the door!
Father, help me! He's trying to take me!
And upon entering another son, we figure out this one is the true son.
After all this time, I am your son.
Who happens to also be older than us.
Is it really so hard to accept that it was not 10, but 60 years? That is the reality.
Which makes me the son. Binglegorp likes the Institute, so we decide to go ahead with the Institute questline and begin meeting all the division leaders.
You want to introduce yourself to the division heads.
Well, I'm sure Father is very happy that you're here. I do hope it doesn't interrupt our work.
We're going to be keeping a close eye on you for the near future. Despite your relation to Father.
So good to have you here. Dr.
Wally must be close to 10 years old.
Head of the Bioscience Division.
Remarkable.
I can't wait to see what we're doing.
I hate all of them, by the way, but this is a problem we'll fix later. We've been here for 5 minutes and they already need me to go on a quest because we killed their box of cereal. One of their robots is loose and we've been sent to Libertalia to retrieve them.
A rogue synth has taken over the Raider gang at Libertalia.
Sure. We'll just fight our way through an army of homicidal maniacs and ask this synth to come on home.
Get moving.
Upon meeting this absolute nerd.
You must be the courser I'm supposed to meet.
Yes, sir. Designation X688. I've already neutralized the perimeter guard. Just give the word and we can start the assault on the main flotilla.
Neutralize the perimeter guard? Who the hell talks like that?
We go through the dungeon having an absolute blast. Haha. And we send the dork back.
B592, initialize factory reset, authorization Gamma 71 Epsilon.
Mission successful, and we return to the Institute to report the good news. After being back for literally 30 seconds, it's time to essentially do the same thing again.
I'm afraid we've reached the point where a response is necessary. We have learned the current location of these synths, and need to reacquire them before the railroad can hide them.
Except this time the Brotherhood of Steel and the railroad, which I killed, I don't know why they're here, are shooting at everybody, including me. We return the ChatGPT possessed meat puppets back to the Institute. This pleases our son.
I had no expectations that you'd survive out here. Extraordinary.
Your unconditional love is overwhelming.
And we are invited to join him in an important business meeting.
But what exactly is he doing here?
I will address that issue.
Are you sure this is the time to be discussing it? Given, well, considering all parties present?
Sir.
With every advance the Institute makes, our need for raw cancer increases. The Directorate must continue to govern with the best interest of all in mind. To that end, I am naming my father as my successor.
Oh, boy.
You can't be serious!
Really? Seems a poor choice.
How can you possibly justify this? He isn't one of us. He isn't even a scientist.
I can do the.
It's great to have you here.
You're going to the mass fusion building to acquire a beryllium agitator for us.
Oh man, I have one of those, but it's in my other pants.
You wouldn't recognize one if it fell on your head. It's not that I don't trust you. It's just that I trust myself more.
No way. You're not going. You'd be a liability.
Well, that's about the most insulting thing I've heard in a while.
This was a life-changing business meeting. This whole time, Binglegorp was convinced that corn was the best food source on the planet. It was perfect in every way, but he realized he was incorrect. There is a bigger market and a better food source. It is now time for Binglegorp to expand his food empire. But before we get sidetracked for another week and a half again, we need to go to the mass fusion building and fight through the entire Brotherhood of Steel to get this beryllium agitator. Similar to Green Tech Genetics, we basically blast through the entire dungeon with ease. Wasn't very difficult at all, especially with MacCready gunning down our enemies for us. We didn't even need the science bitch to go with us because I thought she was quite rude. Aside from drinking the nuclear reactor coolant water and dying so hard that my game crashes, this was overall a very fun mission. Quite smooth too. Oh my goodness, this explosives build is getting quite strong. We've become a pretty high level at this point, and we've been invited to go investigate Vault 88. Fun and more fun underground. After punching straight through the raiders and into the vault, we meet the zombified overseer of an incomplete vault. Very sad. At this point, I had every intention to complete the whole quest normally for Vault 88, except it was completely glitched and I could not progress the quest line at all, because apparently the overseer's desk that I placed down wasn't the overseer's desk that she wanted. It wasn't good enough for her. But don't worry, in the end, she got her overseer's desk. Every part of her got the overseer's desk that she so desired. We had a lovely cornfield, but now it was time to build a facility to process our new food source. Much like the great Willy Wonka, we built a grand factory, ours being underground, nice and safe, and of course, with a nice Midwestern theme. Back in Corntown, USA, we no longer needed manual labor. We were smart enough to build robots, automatons to harvest the corn more efficiently for us, and they would do it for free. We no longer needed our farmers, but they were still useful. They were transferred conveniently over to my Wonder Factory. Let's take a little tour, shall we? Of course, we have the grand entrance where you can purchase tickets for a lovely factory tour. We have lovely Midwest theming throughout. If you look to the left, we have our wonderful Meat Mania, a great little restaurant I recommend everybody tries. Factory is staff only, of course, but over here we have the public cafeteria. And of course, in the middle, Binglegorp's office, so he may oversee the processes going on within his factory. And on the other side, we have the museum. It's a work in progress, but we do have the overseer, the previous overseer, forever sealed in this box. And of course, to honor tradition, we have an underground cornfield.
Binglegorp's sanity is slipping. He is creating more and more product, more production, more franchising, more sales. Our current stock has been exhausted. It got us far, but not far enough. Binglegorp knows where to find more stock, and lots of it. That stock's name is the Brotherhood of Steel. Securing this amount of meat will put Binglegorp as the kingpin in the food industry in the Commonwealth. He may forever reign as the king, unchallenged, over the market and physically. Binglegorp now knows what needs to be done.
With that out of the way, it's time to continue our master plan. We head back to Corntown, USA one last time, and we begin preparing the Bingle suit. Upon the Bingle suit's completion, We have been upgraded to Mecha Bingler. We are now whole. We are now complete. All funded by the proceeds of our cornfield. We warp back to the Institute, and my son informs me that it is time, and I inform this bitch that it is also time. I speak with the grad student, and then she informs me about some stuff that I don't really care about, and then we head to the relay center. We relay just outside of the Brotherhood of Steel's airport, with MacCready, my dog, and my stash of nearly 100 rockets. We begin the final assault. The approaching battle is quite intense. Rockets fly here and there, and Gatling lasers light up my screen like an EDM concert. After taking out the first generator, we start getting synths relayed in to help us, and we push towards the second one, which we very quickly take. After the first two fall, the third one falls relatively quickly as well. All while we're still blasting, and I steal Elder Maxon's coat. We have this little battle droid that we need to escort to the giant robot. Upon inserting the virus into the robot, he blows up the airship and we relay out, completing the game of Fallout 4 and ensuring Binglegorp's victory over the entire Commonwealth. May he reign forever. Upon our return to the Institute, I talk with our son one last time as he dies of hyper-mega death AIDS. After this, the credits roll. With our meat supply secured, Binglegorp's power has risen to an incomprehensible level. Binglegorp is eternal. Binglegorp is unchallenged. Binglegorp is almighty. No vast army can defeat his power. His influence spreads across the Commonwealth. Endless fields of golden corn sprawl. Franchised amusement parks and meatpacking factories overtake the settlements. Knowing or unknowing, everyone in the Commonwealth provides for the company. Binglegorp is almighty. Binglegorp is eternal. This answers our question for sure. You can in fact beat Fallout 4 with the sheer power of corn. This indeed is something to remember.